Today we're going to look at solving word problems, specifically word problems with a missing factor. So I want to introduce you to what we call a bar model. Those of you who were in second grade at Robinson last year have seen this with your second grade teachers. So this should be a review. And we're looking here at the bars at the top. One bar goes all the way across. This is your whole piece. And we have two parts that are the same length as the whole. So the two parts make up the whole. So we're thinking about this in math. We could say that part plus another part would equal the whole. Or we could do the opposite. We could have the whole and know what the whole amount is and take away part to find out what the other part might be. Okay? So this is just a way to look at part, whole. Let's look at this word problem together, and we're going to use the bar model to help us solve this problem. The problem says Sam had 36 cookies. 13 of them were chocolate, and the rest were sugar. How many cookies were sugar? Well, we can take this information and we can plug it into a bar model. So I know that he has 36 cookies. Okay, we can use the read a little, do a little strategy with this as well. You just go ahead and draw a blank bar with no numbers, the whole at the top, and then your two parts. And then we reread to plug in our numbers. So Sam had 36 cookies. Well, I know that's how many cookies he had in all. So that's my whole. Well, part of them were chocolate. How many were chocolate? 13 were chocolate. And the rest were sugar. That's our other part. We don't know how many are sugar. And that's what our question is. How many cookies were sugar? Well, we can take this a step further and let's go ahead and add in our labels to help us remember what was going on in this problem and what these numbers and things even stand for. Okay, so again, there were 36 cookies total. We know 13 of them were chocolate. There that is. And the rest were sugar. We don't know how many are sugar. That's what we need to figure out. Okay, so how would we do this? Well, we could write an equation. I use an S to represent my sugar cookies. So S plus 13 chocolate cookies gives me all 36 cookies. When an equation is set up like this, I know that I need to subtract in order to solve. You could use any strategy you would like to solve this equation. 36 minus 13 is 23. There were 23 sugar cookies. All right, so let's take a look at another problem. Again, using the bar model to help us with our thinking. There were 14 kids on the swing and more on the grass. Altogether, there were 32 kids playing outside. How many kids were on the grass? So I can go back, read a little, do a little. The first step in that is to read the entire problem, which we've already done. So now let's read a little, do a little. There are 14 kids on the swing. So I need to write that down. You're going to draw your bar model first. I went ahead and plugged some numbers in for you. Again, the whole is at the top. Your parts are here. 14 were on the swing. So I've got 14 here. More were on the grass. How many were on the grass? We don't know. The problem doesn't tell us. What we do know is that altogether there were 32 kids playing outside. That's our whole. 32 kids is the whole. Part were on the swings, and then part were on the grass, but we don't know how many were there. So again, we can add in our labels into our bar model to help us remember what we're doing here. We can take this information and put it into an equation. 14 kids plus some kids on the grass. The G just represents grass. How many? We don't know, so I just plug that in to hold space for that number. 14 and something equals 32. Again, you can use any strategy that you know to solve this equation. You could count on, you could draw your base 10 blocks. Maybe if your teacher lets you, you can even use a calculator to solve this, okay? 32 minus 14, what does that equal? That equals 8. There were 8 kids in the grass. You could check yourself by plugging that 8 into your G. 14 plus 8 does equal 32, so we know we are correct. All right, so if you don't have a piece of paper or a whiteboard or something to write with, I want you to pause this video, running at something to write with, to write on, because I want you to try the next two with me. hopefully you're back and you have something to write with. Go ahead and draw your bar model before we even get started. So one long bar at the top. You're going to draw a second bar underneath, but you're going to draw a line to separate that second bar into two pieces. Okay? We're going to read this story the first time, and we're not going to do anything but think what's happening in this story. Then we'll go back and we'll read a little and do a little. Okay, so first reading. Jen had 49 shirts. Some of them were red and 22 were yellow. How many shirts were red? Okay, so we know we're talking about shirts. Hopefully you in your bar model now, you've got that drawn on your paper. Now we're going to go in and we're going to plug this information into that bar model. All right, so we need to say Jen had 49 shirts. Was that the whole or is that the part? That's all of her shirts. That's 49, all the shirts she has. So we know that is the whole. So I'm going to go ahead and put up the bar model. 49 goes up here because that's all the shirts she had. Some of them were red. Some, that doesn't give us a number. So I put a question mark here. We don't know how many were red. And then it tells us 22 were yellow. So I can put that there. Again, let's add those labels to keep us on track. 49 shirts total, 22 were yellow. We don't know how many were red. So how could we turn this into an equation? Go ahead, take a minute and write down what you think the equation could be. Okay, the equation I wrote was 22 plus R equals 49. Now, if you didn't use R, that's okay. If you drew a box to show a missing number, that's fine. Some of you may have gone on and written 49 and minus 22 because you knew that's what you were going to need to do in order to figure out how many red shirts there were. Okay, so any of those equations are fine. Again, you don't have to use R. This is your unknown. We don't know what goes here. So I just put an R to help me remember that's those red shirts we were looking for. So take a minute, solve this problem. Okay, and the answer is 27. There were 27 red shirts. So what you should have done was 49 minus 22 to get 27. And then we can check ourselves. Is 22 plus 27 really 49? Yes, yes, it is. All right, let's try one more together. All right, so the first time again, we're going to go ahead and just read it, but we're not going to do anything. If you want to draw your bar model, you can go ahead and draw your bar model. Remember, it's two rectangles the same size. The top one is whole. The bottom one is cut in half. Give you a minute to draw that. Okay, so the first time I'm going to read this problem, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just thinking right now, okay? I have 109 fish. I want to put 62 in a red bowl and the rest in a blue bowl. How many fish will be in the blue bowl? All right, so I'm just thinking I've got fish and I'm putting them into two bowls, I see, a red one and a blue one. Let's go back and let's look at this a little more in detail. And let's figure out where we're going to plug these in on the bar model. I have 109 fish. Put that on your bar model. Where do you think that goes? Is that your whole or is that a part? The next part says, I want to put 62 in a red bowl. Is that part or is that whole, that number 62? And the rest in a blue bowl. You need to write something down for that. Is that a part or is that a whole that we're missing? Don't have a number for that blue bowl. Does that go in a box for the part or in a box for the whole? Then we want to answer our question, how many fish will be in the blue bowl? Let's see if your bar model matches mine. 109, that was all the fish that they had. They had 109 fish. Part were 62 in a red bowl. Part of them went into a red bowl. The other part are going into a blue bowl, but we don't know how many are going into that blue bowl. Okay, so this is what your bar model should look like. Then we can write an equation. Take a minute and write an equation. How are you planning to solve this? How are you planning to figure out how many fish are actually in that blue bowl? Okay, here's my equation. I did 62 from the red bowl plus B, that's that blue bowl, and I don't know how many there are, equals 109. That equals all of the fish. Do you have to write a B for blue bowl? No. You can put anything there to hold a spot for a number to go. You could draw a box. You could use another letter. That doesn't matter as long as you're not just sticking a random number in there. That's holding a spot for the unknown. We don't know how many are in the blue bowl. Okay? So how would you solve this? 62 plus something equals 109. Personally, I would do some subtracting. 109 minus 62, and you can use any strategy you want. Any strategy you want to solve this. The answer would be 47. There are 47 fish in the blue bowl. I can check myself by plugging 47 where this B is. I can plug it right in there and read it as 62 plus 47. And does that equal 109? It sure does. So then I know I'm correct. All right. So now it's your turn. You're going to complete the multiple choice problems in Canvas. You can work them out on a piece of paper and mark your answers in Canvas. Okay, they're multiple choice, so all you have to do is click your answer in Canvas. But I would like for you to be working these out, maybe drawing your bar model on a piece of paper, and you can use any strategy that works for you to actually solve the equations. And I encourage you to check your answers with a calculator. Pull out that calculator, plug in those equations to check yourself and make sure you came up with the right answer.